Hi, this is a tutorial for the Stable Song by Gregory Alan Isakov. And I gotten several requests to make a tutorial for this song, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And I've never done this before, so bear with me. And if you stumbled across this tutorial video, I'm just basing it off of my version of the song. You can find that in the link for that in the description below. So by no means is this an official tutorial of how Gregory Alan Isakov actually plays this song. It's just, I just learned it by listening and then playing what I heard. So to start off, there's a couple things. The entire song is in the key of D, but the capo is on the 2nd fret, so we can think of the chord shapes more based around C. Then you can also move the capo up or down to make it easier for your singing range. And the song's really actually pretty simple in terms of chords. There's only like 5 of them, but it's little nuances and how he plays the chords and his singing and the lyrics that really make it a beautiful song. And I'll take a minute to touch on a couple of those as we go through the chords, a couple of those little changes and nuances. So first we'll break down the chords, and then we'll touch on the strumming pattern, and then we'll finish up with the progression. So let's start off with the chords. There are the 5 chords like I mentioned before. There's F, C, G, A minor, and E minor. So, and like I talked about with the capo there, those are actually the names of the chord shapes rather than the actual true chord names. So for the F, that's technically really a G chord, but because of the shape, because of the capo there, we'll refer to it as F. So let's start off with the first chord, which would be F. So you can put your ring finger start on the A string, put your ring finger on the 3rd fret, your pinky on the 3rd fret above that, middle finger on the 2nd fret, index finger on the 1st fret, and then open. So it is 3, 3, 2, 1, open. And it's technically an F major 7 chord. And you can also modulate on your middle finger by lifting it off and putting it back on the 2nd fret. And then also another thing is you can wrap your thumb around to 1, the 1st fret on the bottom there, to give it a beefier sound if you want to have the bass note on there. So it can be, or, not a huge difference, but it adds a little bit. So that's the first chord. The second chord is going to be C, pretty much similar to a normal C chord, but we're going to be adding another note on the low end of this chord. So you can start off by putting your, similar to before, you can start off by putting your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the E string this time, then your pinky on 3rd fret above that, middle finger on the 2nd fret, open, 1, open. So it goes 3, 3, 2, open, 1, open. So that's pretty similar to a normal C chord, but it has that extra note on the bottom, so it gives it a beefier, chunkier feel. And you can do the same thing with your middle finger there, going on and off that 2nd fret, to add some more variation to it as well. So that's the second chord. The third chord is going to be a variation on G, which, coming from the C, you can leave your ring finger on the 3rd fret on the E string on the bottom, and you can put your middle finger on the 2nd fret on the A string, open, open, your index finger on 1 on the B string, and then open on E. Well, actually, I don't actually typically play the E on top. A lot of times when I'm strumming it, I'll hold it with my ring finger or my pinky and mute it, so when you're playing it, you don't really get much of that in there. You can see that probably. So, and you can notice that there's a lot of tension in this chord, a lot of and that is because it's more of a transition chord rather than you don't sit on it as long, and it resolves much better to the C chord. So that's the G chord, and then the final 2 chords are really kind of just the typical the typical shapes for what they actually are. Like the A minor is going to be really just like a normal A minor. You'll start, open on the A string, 2, 2, 1, open. And then E minor is going to be pretty typical E minor chord as well, where you just do open, 2, 2, and the remainder open. Sorry, and then that's starting with the low E string. So those are really the 5 chords, but they're not exactly the standard chord shapes, but they're really pretty close. So the next thing we can step through is, or we can go to, is the strumming pattern. So, and you know, to be honest, like, I have never really written down a strumming pattern or learned them. It's more just me listening to the song and you know, that I wanted to play and just kind of trying to replicate that. So I think the best that I could do is probably just play the strumming pattern with muted strings so you can hear the individual strokes rather than hearing the full chord. But I think that really the key to strumming on this song, and really most songs, is that you want to get the feel of the beat of the song in your right hand, or I guess in your strumming hand. But you can just continuing to go up and down like this, and then once you have that going with the beat of the song, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then you just choose when you actually want to hit the strings on the up and down. And once you kind of have that locked in, that can really help to make your strumming feel a lot more natural and lock that tempo of the song so you don't speed up or slow down. So there are probably several like strumming patterns throughout this song, but they really all come out of what he starts with and are just kind of variations on that. So I'll just play the beginning so we don't get stuck on strumming for too long. So with the chords, it's like this. And then, you know, just the strumming pattern of it is 1, 2, 3, 4. And once you have that, you know, set up like that, you know, you have the feel of it, then it's easy to play the chords with that because you don't really have to think about your strumming hand nearly as much anymore. And then you can just move with the chords in your other hand, and then it allows you to focus more on some of the variations that I talked about, and then also the singing aspect of it. And the thing is also, if you don't get that exactly what that is, like I said, that might not even be exactly the strumming pattern that he has. That's just in the ballpark of what I was, you know, what I listened to when I heard the song and when I played. So let's, the next thing we can go through is the chord progressions for each part of the song. There's 4 main progressions, or four main, you know, parts of the song. And there's the intro progression, there's the verse, the chorus, and then the bridge as well. And those aren't necessarily set up in the typical structure of a song, but they still have those, you know, those typical pieces. So, and then within these progressions, there are a couple of reoccurring themes, I guess, that kind of link them together without making them the same thing. And I'll refer to these as motifs as we go through, and you'll pick up on them. So I'll play each progression all the way through, and then we can walk through it, the chords individually. So we'll start off with the intro that I had just played there before, but it sounds like this. It goes into the first verse after that. So starting off, we'll start with that the F chord that I showed there, and he begins with the modulating that middle finger as I talked about on that 2nd fret. So something similar to that, and then goes to C, then G, back to F, C, then G, and then goes back to C, F, C, And that last part, that is one of the recurring themes that I'm talking about, and we can call that motif 1 for easy reference. Because that comes later on in the song, and it can be played after some of the choruses. But that's one of the recurring themes through that. So that's the intro, and then it goes directly into the verse. And so I'll play that here so you can hear what that sounds like in the verses. Remember when our songs were just like prayers, like gospel hymns that you called in the air. Come down, sweet reverence, unto my simple house and rain. And that goes into a solo right after that. So the verse starts off with C, and goes into F. And here's a fast part: C, G, A minor, F. So I'll slow that down a little bit, and that is another one of those recurring themes. We can call it one motif 2. That's throughout the song, where that fast turnaround, I guess, on it is that C chord, then into G, and then goes to A minor, and then goes to the F chord. So we'll go through it again here. It's going to be C, and then F, and motif 2, C, G, A minor, and then F. And then he goes into a solo, something like that. So, and I'm not going to get into the solos because when I played this, I was imitating the banjo part, which plays the solos, and then I just kind of made up my own stuff on top of that. So it was like I took the melodies that he made, and then just kind of played what I was feeling on top of that. So that's the verse, and then it goes. After, I think the solo after that goes into the chorus, which sounds like this. Ring like silver, ring like gold, ring out those ghosts on the Ohio. Ring like clear day wedding bells, or with the belly of the beast or the sword that fell. We'll never tell. So the chorus starts out with F, goes to C and then F, and then we go back to that motif 2 we just were talking about, where it's the C, G, A minor, F. So in the chorus we're already hitting back on one of those, and it's because they're reoccurring, it's easier to learn once you pick up one of those motifs. Like, oh, this is also in the chorus. I can play this already. So that's F, C, F, and then go motif 2. And then sometimes it ends with motif 1, where it goes back to. And that's actually how it ends the song after that. So. That's the chorus, and then the last part. That's a majority of the whole song, and the final part is the bridge, where he sings over that, and also is underneath one of the solos one of the times, where this is how that sounds. Come to me, clear and cold, on some sea. Watch the world spinning waves like some machine. So the bridge starts out with an E minor chord. The bridge is really the only place the E minor chord is played. I start off with an arpeggiated upstroke on it just to add some color, but it's not really necessary. But it's E minor. And then goes to F, just holds this, and then goes to C, and this is motif 1 right here. F, C, back to E minor, F, and then to C. And instead of motif 1, we're just going to hold on G. And you can really feel like that is building up some dissonance and tension, and it's ready to resolve to the next verse. So like that. And then I've been crazy, couldn't you tell? So it really builds up that tension and has a nice release after that. So that's really basically it for the song. It comes down to, once you have those 5 chords and the few progressions down, then you can work on adding your own flavors of the song with those hammer-ons, and, you know, playing individual strings, and then really make it your own. And like I said the whole time, you know, this isn't the official way that it was played or anything. It was just really what I heard, and then I made it into something that was my own. So I hope that this helps, or at least gives you enough to start practicing with. And again, if you want to listen to my version that I made, you know, a few years back, you can find the link in the description below. And thanks for watching, and keep playing.
I've been crazy, couldn't you tell? I threw stones at the stars, but the whole sky fell. Now I'm covered up in straw, belly up on the table. When I sang and I drank and I passed in the stage.